What's your baseball philosophy? What got you so far?
I mean, it's fun, and it's just something I've done my whole life, and I've always wanted to do. And it's literally, it's who I am. It's just always played baseball, always had a good time doing it, and it just kind of taken me to where I'm at now.
Well, a lot of times the first round draft picks, half of them make the major leagues, but half of them don't. You see a lot of them get passed up by guys drafted in the 50th round. Why does that happen?
I mean, you just never know. I mean, when guys are young like that and they get drafted high, sometimes they let it go to their head. Sometimes, they stop working. They think, I'm a first rounder, kind of got a shoe in to get to the big leagues, whatever. And the guys that get drafted later are the guys that work harder sometimes. Sometimes it's not true. I mean, sometimes the first round guys will obviously turn into the A-Rods and the superstars of the game, but it can go either way.
Now in spring training, every team brings in more guys. They get free agents. They make trades, and it's all to compete with you for your spot on the major league roster. How do you approach that?
I mean, you can't worry about any of that. It's just you got to take care of your stuff, and you work hard, and that's always been my kind of way that I go about it. Is that I know that I put in my work, and I know that I work harder than the next guy. So, I really just worry about my own game, and I know that I take care of my stuff off the field and in the off season, before the game, that I know it'll all play out and be all good.
Is there a time so far in your career you wanted to quit baseball?
No. I mean, there's been some rough days, but, you have your rough days, but, I mean, that's part of it, I mean, Albert Pujols has struck out 4 times in a game, so, I mean, Braun struck out 4 times. The best, the best of the best, they have their bad days, and that's why this game is so humbling, and that's what makes it so great, is that, one day you can get 4 hits, 2 homers, and the next day you can not sniff a ball. So it's definitely humbling, and that's why they play a season and so many games. You have your ups and downs, and you go through your goods and the bads, and you kind of try and keep it as even as you can. But that's what makes it so tough.
How about the umpires? How do you handle the umpires?
I mean, you can't. No matter how much you argue, you really can't change what the call is or how it's gonna come out. So you just gotta hang with them. I mean, they make their calls, and sometimes you get better umpires than others. But I mean, there's really nothing you can do about it.
How about the fans? People yelling and screaming at you all game long. How do you handle that? Does it affect you, or does it affect you the next day when you're signing autographs for kids or anything like that?
No. There's always going to be those fans that come to the park and drink too much and think that they can be where you're at or want to be where you're at. So I know that when they're yelling and saying all that stuff, that they really mean that they want to be where I'm at. So it doesn't bug you. I mean, I guess it used to when I was earlier in my career, like when I was younger, but it doesn't at all now. I just kind of laugh about it.
How about this? The sports pages, scouting reports, Baseball America, where they list you in the prospects and stuff like that. Do you see that?
No, I mean, I don't even know what Baseball America is. So, no, I mean, those are all sports writers that, they got a good idea what's going on, but I feel like it's more for, scouts and stuff. That you don't really pay attention to that stuff.
Anybody ever tell you, or?
I mean, I've heard stuff. Oh, I saw you on the depth chart or whatever, but I mean, it's not like Dan O'Dowd made that, So, or Jim Tracy. So it doesn't really mean that much to the players.
What would you tell a high school kid about professional baseball that you learned the hard way that nobody told you about?
It's a lot of work, and people don't realize how much work it is. I mean, we play almost 150 games in 5 months, so it's really just mentally bigger than anything. I mean, physically it's obviously tough because you're playing every day, but mentally to stay on an even keel is probably the biggest thing. You can't let your last game or your last at bat affect you, because you won't last the whole season. So that's probably the biggest thing is. I mean, in high school, guys hit 400, 500, 600. They've never really failed. They've never really failed. So when they come into pro ball and you hit 300, that's really good. So guys aren't used to failing, especially high school, college guys, aluminum bat. So when they come in here and they're hitting 220 after the first 2 months, you can either go one of two ways. You can go tank it, hit 190 for the season, or you can keep working and stay positive and maybe get up to 280, 300.
Anything else about baseball I didn't ask you about that you want to tell somebody?
No, I mean, if you're in the game and that's what you want to do, and that's fun for you, then it's a great game to be in. But like I said, if you let it affect you in a negative way, you won't last very long.